everybody. Welcome to Talking Indie Animation here. We're talking about a very special film this month. We're talking about Tower. And this is the 2016 animated documentary. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford's here.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm so excited to talk with you about this film.
Yeah.
My goodness, Rachel.
It's so good. And part of the reason why I thought about doing this film, not only because it's exceptional, but also because the movie Flea it was also wonderful. I love it, but I do think it's getting a little bit of this reputation of being like groundbreaking that maybe it doesn't 100% deserve.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I was thinking the same thing as I was watching Tower, is that, oh wow, this, I saw this in Flea. But Flea came later.
Yeah. 6 years later, we had animated documentary, and then of course there's Waltz with Bashir, which is also an animated documentary. Right. That is a war movie, and I think that all three are different and all three are exceptional. But I just think that if we're going to tip our hat to Flea, we should give some love to Tower as well.
To Tower, agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about it. This is an animated documentary. It's combined live action and rotoscope animation that tells the story of the 1966 sniper shootings at the University of Texas at Austin. And it was interesting. Last year, I actually visited Austin. I visited our friends, Sean and Jennifer Chandler.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They live in Austin. Yeah.
They live in Austin. So I got to see the campus and the tower.
And see the tower.
Yeah, we drove by it. And I'm like, wow.
I know, right? It's something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So this event, it happened in
1966.
1966. It was August 1st. And this man, he's just started shooting. And one of the things there's many things I appreciate about this film, but one of the things that I really appreciate is they do not try to psychoanalyze the shooter at all.
I appreciated that too, because you don't even learn the shooter's name until the end of the movie.
Yep.
And so it's not like necessarily like this true crime thing. It was just capturing the horror of those 90 minutes of what was going on when he was at this tower shooting down people.
The closest they get is Claire, the pregnant woman. It talks about a photo she saw of Charles as a child holding guns.
Yeah.
2 guns. Yeah. And as a teacher, her relating to that and saying that she forgives him. But that's still about the victims.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of all of these like Ted Bundy movies and stuff like that.
That are so focused on the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciated that this was just about the victims. And it's a very sobering movie, because you have to ask yourself, what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen? And there's particular characters that were so brave and great. And
oh my stars.
Did you have a favorite character?
Well, probably my favorite character was and I should have written his name down, Rachel, but it's the guy who's wearing the black shirt, who went out and rescued the pregnant woman.
Yeah, he was really, really good. I actually don't remember. I don't even know if they said his name, but maybe at the end they did.
Yeah, and I can't remember. Maybe they didn't. But and then how that one point he's having the conversation with the we'll call her the pregnant woman, but I don't know. It's just his story in particular was especially moving to me. Although they all were moving, to be honest with you. What about it for you?
Well, I do. I love him. I love Rita. Unbelievable.
Oh, Rita.
That made me tear up. Made me cry.
Unbelievable.
But probably my favorite is Alan Crumb. I basically feel like he's a real life John McClane.
Oh, Absolutely. And wasn't it amazing to hear him talk about
Yeah. And there was just like, you got to deputize me.
it?
He's like, I got your back, ready to go.
So, I know we'll get into this, Rachel, but one of the things that was so well done about this is that basically there were they had actors that were basically saying the lines of these people that were these eyewitnesses and people that were shot that were there, uh and then also they talk to the real person, and so they can use it. Was so interesting to me how they did the rotoscoping animation of the actors, and then they'd bring in the real people, and the real people were never animated, right? The
Yeah.
ones the when they were talking to them in their own voices as they were giving the account.
It was so effective. I wrote
It
that
was
this is,
so incredibly effective.
yeah, I said this is one of the most stunning uses of animation I've ever seen, because you have
Agreed.
characters who are dead. So you would only be able to do it sort of Ken Burns style, where you have like the
Yeah,
floating pictures and stuff, and that can be effective. But this really immersed you into the experience, into the moment. You heard their voice, you heard,
yeah.
and I thought that was so effective. And I mean, this is, I just can't think of another instance where rotoscoping is or is nearly as effective as it is here. I mean, we've talked about Waking Life previously on this show, but this is just even more
Yeah, it
effective.
reminded me a tad of somewhat of at least the style of Waking Life, but I thought that this was so much more effective and so much more interesting. The way that the way that it was done, and their choice of colors, and different things when the people were talking, and then in different moods too. I'm with you. I just you know for anybody who says limits animation to something that's quote unquote a children's medium, they need to see this film. And I think they'll have their minds changed about the power that that animation can be in amazing storytelling.
And I think one thing that helps a lot is that you have the newsreels, which a lot of those are in black and white, and then they move into basically black and white animation, which that sort
Yeah.
of dulls the uncanny valley kind of look this one as you get with the rotoscoping.
Yep.
And so it made it into a art style versus something that's done for to be on the cheap, which is a lot of times
Right.
the case with a rotoscope.
Right.
It was a conscientious visual choice.
I loved how they were able to, with the uh animate the tower itself,
Yeah.
and the different angles and things that they were doing, that of course that you weren't able to get film that during the event. And it's not like they had drones or something. Even then, they probably that would I don't think that how that would be safe. But anyway, just jaw dropping the whole thing. I just think, I was riveted to the
And the
screen.
sound design was so effective. Every time there was a shot, you felt it. It was
Oh,
chilling.
wasn't that chilling? And
Mm-hmm.
just the way they captured almost that echo,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
way that would sound there, and that in the on the campus. Oof.
Mm-hmm. And a part of the reason why they did what they did is because they were not allowed to film the reenactments at the university campus for whatever reason. And so they decided instead to go this animated route. But I think it was necessity is the means of invention, because it definitely added to the film. If it had just been a live action documentary, it
You
really wouldn't
know,
be as
it would
memorable.
have. Yeah, it wouldn't nearly be as memorable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the animation that really makes this film stand out, and
Mm-hmm.
again, I'll make it almost an even more emotional experience. I loved. I mean, I loved everything about it, clearly, but I was how, as I was mentioning earlier, when they were having these eyewitness accounts going on, and it would start sometimes with an animated, with the rotoscope, and then it would morph into still kind of animated rotoscope, and then the actual live person was talking, and you see, and how they, I guess I should, I'm sorry, I'm just going on blabbering honestly. The editing, the way that the way that they were able to edit all of that together, with every aspect of this film, absolutely blew my mind.
Well, and it starts out introducing us to all the different characters that we're going to meet. You could almost picture this as a play, I think.
Exactly.
In the way that it kind of introduces your characters.
The characters.
And really, when we find out her name is Claire, the pregnant woman is there with her boyfriend. They're walking to campus. They have a class together. And when she gets shot, it's just so sad. And she says she can feel her baby anymore. And brutal.
Yeah. And this campus, if you haven't seen, pictures or aware of this event, where this tower is, it's really this wide open plaza.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be hard to hide. If you were there in the line of fire, it's just wide open there, and it's not like a lot of, all the trees and stuff are just kind of like to the side, the shrubs and whatnot.
There's that great line with the glasses guy where he says that a lot of people think they should take down the Jefferson Davis statue, but in that moment, it provided them the cover that they needed.
Yeah. Wow.
And so she's lying there altogether, the whole incident was about which just under 2 hours. And she's lying there on that hot concrete. She can't move.
Yeah.
And this woman with red hair named Rita comes up to her and then ends up on the ground because she gets shot at. And she basically keeps her awake.
Yeah, she keeps her conscience.
Talking for like an hour, a long time.
Yeah.
And it's 100-degree weather. That concrete is hot.
It's like burning their legs.
And I think what especially makes what Rita does moving is earlier in the movie, you have, I don't know her name, but you have one of the students, and she says that she realized that day that she was a coward.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Kind of as retrospective thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if I could say that I would be Mr. John McClane, storming I really would just tuck under the desk too. Yeah.
And those guys, so this woman, clearly, the pregnant woman is still alive. Her boyfriend is dead. And then Rita's there, but Rita's just trying to keep her conscious, and she's pretending that she's dead, so she doesn't draw any attention from the sniper. And these brave guys go out and they get the pregnant woman, Claire, right? And that scene just took my breath away. Yeah. And then when they're talking to the witness too, it was interesting to me, Rachel, because every single witness, who can blame them? Because what a traumatic situation. I don't know if you ever recover really from something like this. Everyone got emotional.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't that interesting?
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that. But to think that none of them had really dealt with this ever.
Yeah.
And we're talking, this is, 2016.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I'm like, I don't know how anybody survived the 60s.
I know, right?
Because
they haven't even put a memorial on the campus.
Crazy. And they had never talked about it. They had never met up. They never communicated. I guess that's one advantage, at least, of social media, is that we sometimes to a fault, we can bond and communicate and form groups and things like that would have been way harder back then. But still just amazing that not even once. I just couldn't believe that they,
I know, right?
And even that one guy, it was his cousin. He was like, I haven't seen my cousin in 30 years.
Just like, wow. What?
That was amazing to
me. I know.
But yeah, because my one of my grandmas, she her mother tried to commit suicide in front of her. And she had she lived with this horrible trauma that she had dealt with, and she never talked about it ever. And finally, when she was in her 80s, it finally bowled up on her, and she finally had to deal with it. And it's just, I just can't imagine. Like I said, I think maybe now we've swung over the other way to a fault where we're just like, so we share everything with everyone. But boy, whew, I would need to talk and talk a lot if something like this happened.
All right, so true. So traumatic.
But I felt bad for that lady because I don't think that she was a coward. And she says that this separated the brave people from the scared people. He says, I didn't want to get shot.
Yeah.
And I realized I was a coward. I mean, that was just very emotional.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Same thing with that cop who was regretting waiting. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember specifically what he was waiting for, Rachel, or what he was being sad that he didn't go out. I don't know if it was going out and getting Claire, or if it was something else, but he regretted it.
Yeah. He says, I've tried to forget it. He says, how would I describe the colors of the rainbow to someone born blind? You can't. There are no words.
Yeah.
So it's something you always. But then Claire says that nobody ever talked about it. That she never met. I guess the man with the glasses is named Artie. That she didn't meet him until a few months before the interview, which is just crazy. That's amazing to me.
Crazy to me too. Yeah.
And she says she has a strange guilt and she talks about missing her baby. Oh, that part got me.
Yeah, I know.
She ended up adopting a son, but she dreams about the lost baby. And that's when she says, I can't hate him. I forgive him. How can I not forgive when I've been forgiven of so much? But she did say that participating in this documentary was very healing for her, which made me happy.
Yeah, that made me happy too.
Mm-hmm. When so there's a boy and his cousin that are on the paper route. And can you imagine this man just shooting a child? Like,
this dude was so messed up.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And then he says that his first thought was, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my mom and dad or anything, which I thought was moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he still had his shirt that he had worn.
I know, right?
That day.
Yeah. There he showed it on camera. That was just, holy smokes.
Yeah. And then we have two different officers. We have Officer Martinez. He's the main officer. And then we have another officer with blonde hair. I'm not sure his name, but he tries to shoot, but he's never shot a scope before. He says it wasn't a nervous shake, it was a wobble. And I did laugh. It was like so Texas when they're like, everybody was showing up with their guns.
I mean, hey, to be like playing the stereotypes, but it's like, well, they're in Texas, everybody's got a gun. But what was so interesting to me too, Rachel, in that, so we're talking about the guys that actually go up into the tower, right, to try to take this guy out. That there was that bookstore, that university bookstore employee, who also.
Well, he was the deputized guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, you already mentioned
he was great. I mean,
he's so great.
He was just like, no, I mean, talk about fearless, unbelievable. Wow. He wanted to call his wife from inside the tower, and when they start to go up into the tower, he's like, all right, I'm behind you, you got to deputize me. and they said that they offered him 1 day pay as a deputized officer, and he refused it.
I love that. I did too.
I feel like he's the one that you make the movie around.
Yeah.
If you made a movie of this, I mean a narrative.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously, yeah, Bruce Willis in his heyday would have been perfect. Probably too old
Uh-huh.
now.
Oh yeah, but like Die Hard days, or maybe just a little
Hmm.
after. It's classic Bruce Willis.
Yeah. And yeah, I liked when they were talking about that there was massive testosterone, the average citizens with guns.
I know, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to like belittle the situation, but that was kind of classic, and again
Yeah,
playing into the stereotype. But yeah, I was like, well, they are, there they
it,
are.
it was really good. And so then, yeah, Officer Martinez, he is very smart because once he hears this shooting on the other side of the south side, then he goes to the north and goes around so he won't be seen. And he says that if I could see the top of the tower, the sniper could see me. So that was kind of his strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the music was also really effective in this. I don't know if you agree.
Oh no, I totally
Mm-hmm.
agree. I mean, like
Yeah.
every aspect just came together. As I mentioned, the editing was so stellar. The music was terrific and just used in such a judicious way.
Mm.
Where I never felt it was overwhelming. But the one scene where they're using as a Claire de Lune, how
Oh
they
yeah,
used
that
it
was
a
so
couple
good.
of times. It was so good and so effective.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And I mean, it's just unbelievable that they could do this on such a small budget. I mean, a lot of I don't know if it was the
oh
full budget, but they did an Indiegogo campaign uh, as part of the financing. So, I mean, we're talking this movie cost under $1 million to make,
yeah,
which is pretty
exactly.
amazing.
It's amazing
Yeah.
how they pulled it together.
Hmm. And I felt like all of the reenactment actors worked for me. I felt like they
Me too.
felt like, okay, this. And then when they showed the real people that were still alive, it looked like those people to me.
Oh, same. And I think because she probably had the most screen time, but th- both the real Claire and the actress who played young Claire,
Mhm.
uh, they were so good. Or she was so good. They should say, that actress in particular was I thought just terrific. Such a moving performance.
Yeah, she did a really good job. I mean, just I can't even imagine how horrible that would be. You're lying there, your baby's not moving, you're in pain. And the way she talked about the pain was very interesting about it being almost
Yeah.
like a pressure kind of almost than AM.
Well, yeah, and I wonder, like, as she's describing it, I was thinking, well, did she get shot, or do what happened? I mean, did she? What happened? Then you find out, yeah, I mean, clearly she
Yeah.
got shot,
Um,
but
I mean, it's probably partly adrenaline and shock too.
yeah,
She says it felt like something heavy was pressing down on me. I felt like I'd been shot by some kind of antimatter gun. And that's when Rita comes up to her, and the when she says that this was a beautiful sacrifice that Rita made, and she says, um, Rita was persistent and kept asking me questions. It was a beautiful, selfless act.
mm-hmm.
So, and I did like the glasses guy when he's like, I was dressed in all black like an idiot.
I know, because it's so hot. So he's sweating like a pig.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he can't see without his glasses.
yeah. In fact, I was so nervous that whole thing because he gets Claire to safety and then he has to go retrieve his glasses because he can't see. And I'm thinking he's gonna get shot. I mean, that's the thing that too, that in a way it's a real it's a thriller. I mean, it's scary,
Yeah,
because you're just thinking, okay, who's gonna get shot? Because the sniper was ruthless and just didn't discriminate. He was shooting anybody and anything.
yeah. He said it was the most scared he's ever been in his life,
Mm-hmm.
which yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's a young boy that's dead, a young woman, others wounded, and that this is when they go and deputize
Yeah.
the bookstore guy.
Yeah.
Because we call him.
The bookstore guy. That's right.
They said the shooting outside was like rolling thunder. And I liked the one officer. He says that time's passing, but you don't feel like time's passing.
Yeah.
There was no time to think about fear. And he said, you can't have fear in front of you to do your job. And I wasn't going to allow anyone to make me dead. Oh, it was all good moments. Admire that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would probably just be huddled under a desk somewhere. I don't
Oh,
think I'm
yeah.
that brave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole thing.
It certainly is very sobering, and it makes you think,
Yeah.
would I do that for a stranger, especially?
Mm-hmm.
Would I do that?
Yeah.
And
You know, the thing too that Rachel reminded me of, I know that there's this probably off, you know, an off-use quote, but Mr. Rogers taught that, you know, you're teaching little kids when it's like something, I think it was when he was talking about the 9/11 attacks. But he was talking about how, you know, for children to look for the helpers, there will be helpers. And it's so interesting. I was thinking about that a lot watching as all this stuff was unfolding, because I think there were a lot of people that were trying to help. And some of them were just shooting up at the tower. You know, there were cops and stuff. But no, but still, I think, you know, they were, you know, taking cover, but trying to figure out, you know, what they could do to help. And I it's sad that sometimes it takes, you know, a tragic situation like this, but to bring out the best in people, you know, to bring out the best in humanity, to bring out people who are helpers, and who want to, you know, be good.
Yeah,
against this evil.
I remember when the Boston Marathon bombing happened.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview, and somebody was saying, like, it's easy to think about the reality of evil with these two people and what they did to so many people, and that's valid, and to think about it, but also in the same breath, think of all the people that ran towards that you know, that helped, that rescued, that had the opposite, you know, that you can look at the two that were terrible and caused all this pain, but all the people running towards the suffering to help, and there's that too. And I think that is, you know, very, very true. And I mean, it's probably somewhat easier for, you know, officers who they've got that training, they've got that they've got that emergency experience, to kind of know what to do and be strong, like Officer Martinez is here.
Right, because he's a Vietnam vet, right?
Yeah. And that the whole sequence where they're going up the tower.
Rachel. I was just holding my breath.
Yeah. And I've seen the movie before, and I still
it's so well crafted.
Yeah. And when they shoot, Martinez says, I was done. And you see the bookstore guy, I think it was Alan in his name, that he waves the white handkerchief so that people know that the sniper is dead.
So they'll stop shooting up at the tower.
And some people think at first that it's the shooter waving the white handkerchief, that he is the shooter. But it says they were mesmerized, as if dazed and wondering what in the world has happened to my world. It's not something you expect from our beautiful tower.
Yeah.
So that was very moving. And you definitely, you know, think about it. And they showed that kind of clip reel at the end of all the different shootings and stuff like that. But luckily we haven't had anything too bad happen here in Utah. But
do you remember that Trolley Square?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Again, just a crazy person with a gun, you know, kind of holding the mall hostage. And oh my gosh, horrible. Scary. So scary, because you don't know if you're ever gonna walk into a situation like that. You know, you're just going about your day. going to dinner or whatever, and then
or even something on a smaller scale, like what happened with Elizabeth Smart. I remember just thinking like how crazy it was, or I don't know. I just remember thinking like how that bubble had kind of been burst a little bit, that something like that could happen in our peaceful. I mean, I guess you also had what's his name with the Book of Mormon translator guy with
Mark
those bombs.
Hoffman.
Yeah, Mark
Yeah.
Hoffman. So that was the case here too. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And there was a good documentary actually on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it.
Right. No, I
Mark
haven't
Hoffman.
seen that yet, but I heard it was very good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was a little bit aggrandizing him sometimes, which made me uncomfortable about how he's the greatest like criminal mastermind or whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't really, and plagiarizer and stuff. That made me uncomfortable. But nevertheless, it was still pretty good. But it's definitely a sobering thing, especially to happen on a college campus where people are trying to learn, and it should be a kind of a peaceful, hopeful, positive environment. To have it be infiltrated this way,
Yeah,
is really upsetting. Claire ended up in intensive care for 7 weeks, and
yeah.
Rita,
And she lost her baby, of course,
yeah,
and tragic.
so sad. And Rita comes to see her, and she's made a painting for her, and that's the only time they saw each other, which again just kind of amazed me.
Yeah, it kind of floored me too. That they want to just kind of like be part of this permanent support group,
Yeah.
But maybe they just didn't want to relive it anymore. I don't know.
I mean, even if it wasn't like a permanent thing or a frequent thing, you would think that it would be more than once,
right,
in all these years. And then they showed that she died in 1996.
Yeah.
Rita.
I was sad. I mean, I was very worried the whole time that Rita was going to get killed by the sniper.
Yeah.
And so I was grateful to learn that she didn't, although I was sad that, she wasn't able to be part of this documentary too.
Yeah.
In person.
Yeah. And Claire says there's a special place in heaven for people like that.
Yeah.
For Rita.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just like one of those look for the helpers.
Mm-hmm.
That's who she was and what she did, and I admire that so much. It's like what I would hope I would do. I don't know, as we were talking about, I don't know how I'd respond in that situation if I just hide under the in the shrubs or try to go out and help.
Yeah, because I think I would probably rationalize it that, I'm just gonna make things worse.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna die. Like, so the fact that some people, it's like they don't even kind of think that, they don't even try to rationalize, they just operate off of instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, I gotta go, I gotta help.
Yeah. And one of them, again, the countless things I liked about this documentary is that it took you in some of that thought process with some of these people, and it was just interesting to get these different points of view of ways of behaving under that kind of duress.
Yeah. And then, like I said, they talked about that I feel guilty because I didn't go sooner, I didn't help more. This is strange guilt. And then Claire talks about her adopted son and how she misses her baby, and it was just sad. It's really sad. I mean, you're evil if you are killing all these innocent people anyway, but it just seems especially cruel, a child and a pregnant woman.
Oh yeah, I was so happy that they were able to get the killer.
It really was a triumphant moment. It really felt like
so
a John
heroic.
McClane.
It did.
And I was talking to somebody today. They were saying, "Oh, I've really put off watching this movie because it seems so sad and so heavy." And I said, "It's inspirational heavy, not heavy."
Right. It's a really good way to say it.
Because I felt sad, but I didn't feel like I just had a burden placed upon me.
No, and at the end of it, I wasn't necessarily depressed. I was more moved and inspired by these people. And then again, just said, I think part of it was the way how they edited that montage at the end with all these current shootings that we've experienced, over the last 20 years, or frankly, that seems to happen in the US, like, every month, if not every week. And it's something.
Yeah, it kind of that part kind of reminded me of did you ever see a Black Klansman, Spike Lee?
Yeah, it did.
It reminded me a lot of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The kind of thing that he likes to do, the sort of montages that so yeah, that's the movie. I think it's very moving. I think it's very well done. It uses animation to help in such a meaningful way, effective way. It's executed so well in all the ways that you need as far as sound design and animation. And when they bring in the visuals, the live action, it works so well. I just really, the clips that they have from news coverage really work.
Yeah.
Well, there's also that reporter that we see coming in and out. And then when they talk about him being on air and having to read the victim list, and one of the old members of this station, one of the old anchors, he says, read that list again. And it turns out one of them is his, not only is it his grandson, but the grandson that's named
his
after
namesake.
Him. Oh.
And then this guy was getting emotional about it because he's like, now I'm a grandfather, and I can feel what that must have been like. It really, it's a rip your heart out documentary regardless of the format, but the animation is so incredibly well used, and it's a really amazing work of art. About a very sad real life event.
Well, let us know, if you're listening, what you think of this movie Tower, if you've gotten to see it, if you liked it. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. And Stanford, how can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark. I have a movie podcast and blog, which can be found at moviespastandpresent.com. And follow me on Instagram. My handle is at moviespap, as in past and present.
You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, you can find me at Hallmarkies Podcast. And please make sure that if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. That helps so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store. The merch store has hashtag Animation Junkie shirts, so you definitely want to get one of those. And thanks so much. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.